Hello, everybody. Welcome back for more Where Civilizations Start Over. In the last episode, we saw the beginnings of the Cold War, which will be mainly involving the communists and the democracies, with two leading geopolitical bodies, the United Nations and the Communist Accord. And our first event will actually be down here in Europe. And it'll actually be involving the UN's, new founding member, Germany. And it's actually gonna be them expanding the UN's influence already. And they're gonna actually expand it to all of their military allies. So, the Netherlands, France, Poland, Ukraine will all join it. Same thing with Caucasia, I think I called this country. Yep. And, yep. The communists kind of have, a semi-iron wall blocking their way into Europe. But Moscow kind of sees this as a direct threat. So they're gonna be like, alright, Estonia, you're gonna become communists, or we're gonna run through you. And Estonia being weak, they're gonna be like, yeah, we'll become communists. And they're gonna attempt to do the same thing to Lithuania, but they're kind of a little too late. Because right when Estonia joins the Communist Accord, Lithuania joins the UN. And now there is starting to be kind of a iron wall across Europe again. It's going like this. We don't know what Belarus is gonna do during this age quite yet, but it's kind of starting to form around this area. So yeah. But here in Africa, there's gonna be someone expanding their influence, quote unquote, aka just invading people for no reason. Egypt, despite just becoming a sovereign state, is already gonna be going to war, and they're invading Iraq. And when this happens, Iraq's gonna be like, hey, can anyone help me, please? They're not part of the UN, they're not part of any military alliance, and they're not communists. So the whole world will say no. And yeah, Iraq will quickly fall over to the fascist Egyptians, and they will fully be taken over. So let's look at this peace treaty. Now, for this peace treaty, Egypt formed a new state over here, and they're gonna be annexing this area. Well, Iraq will be allowed to exist still, but with a new form of government. I think you guys know where I'm leaning to this. Iraq will be formed into a fascist country. And just in case Egypt expands over here, we're gonna make your color this. Yeah, that looks good. So yeah, Egypt has just starts with the fascist ideals. And the communist neighbor, Libya, is gonna be like, yeah, we're not having that. So, despite all these countries in Africa just becoming sovereign, yeah, Libya's gonna enter into Chad and take a lot of land rapidly. And, Chad's gonna be like, Algeria, help me? No. Tunisia, help me? No. Egypt? No. Sudan? No. Nobody wants help. Chad. And yeah. They will eventually lose the capital and they'll quickly surrender. Libya had a lot of, like, military veterans from Tunisia living in the country. So what's this peace treaty gonna look like? Well, Libya's not actually gonna be taking any land. They're not interested in land, but they will force Chad to become a communist nation, and they will also be forced to join the Communist Accord. That's the wrong symbol. So yeah, the communists and the fascists are expanding violently in Afro-Eurasia. But what about over here in the Americas? Well, in the last episode, I said that New York's communism actually had their influence spread to other countries nearby. The country that first will, like, fall under that influence fully is Carolina, and that's wrong color. And yeah, Carolina will become a communist nation. And they will too join the Communist Accord. Now, America's reaction to this is a bit mixed. So, what did I name the red camp? Ontario and Nunavut will join the UN. So will Louisiana. All these countries are invited. They all say no because they rather just worry about their regions, not like a global issue. Except for one. One country is very, very salty about the past. Because you see, California used to be one of the biggest empires in the world. But following the conclusion of World War III and many other world wars, they have been slowly destroyed. And the leader of California decides, screw it, we're fascists now. And they're gonna show the Americas that they aren't to be messed with. Now, they're in the Checkmark Alliance, right? Well, no, Checkmark Alliance does not want fascism in the alliance. And the Hexagon Alliance doesn't want communism in the alliance anymore. So now, yep. There's a lot of tensions building up in Americas again. And California's gonna show the world why that was a bad idea to kick them out of the alliance. Because California has been building up to reform the empire. So they're gonna enter into, I think I called this Washington. Yep. They're gonna enter Washington territory take two major cities, and the capital. California's leader is like a military genius. Like, they know what they're doing. And when they do this, it's gonna be a simple treaty. California will fully annex Washington. And yeah, the Californian Empire has just formed. And to represent this, I'm going to change the color to this. Actually, no. To this dark red color. And the Americas are gonna be like, okay, this is getting a little crazy. But some of them are like, we need to stick together. And some of them are like, we don't want any involvement in this, like, global issue. Those countries are Cuba, Florida, and Yucatan. So these three countries have just left their alliances, but not just them. Alaska will leave the Checkmark Alliance, and Dakota and Kansas will leave the Hexagon Alliance, because they're just hoping if they remain neutral and diplomatically, like, kind to all sides, these neutral states will be left alone, and the UN will respect this. The Communist Accord will respect this. Like, they won't militarily invade these countries because they're staying neutrality. But the fascists remain quiet. Now, to other region of the world, and that is Australia. You see, since Australia had that civil war happen, and all these countries split apart, those aren't supposed to be that color anymore. Australia kind of wants, like, rebuild their economic influence. So they will be starting one of the first economic, like, pacts of the Cold War. And they will invite all countries near them into it. And they will be represented by Heart, Australia, Papua New Guinea, let me pull up the names later. Indonesia, Malaysia, New Zealand will join Australia's economic alliance, and Vietnam's not supposed to be that color. They are supposed to be purple. Really messed up on that peace tree. On a few peace trees, actually. And yeah, Australia has this economic alliance. Now, I have reinsert some economic alliances, but I do remember that let me disable these layers. For economic alliances, it was that's wrong color for that one. It was the Trapsoy Military Alliance had an economic alliance. The Iberian nations had one. And I do know that North Africa had one going. Now, because all the issues in the Americas, all the economic pacts basically collapsed. But there's gonna be one global one forming, and that's gonna involve the Communist Accords, with all the communist nations forming an economic alliance through the Communist Accord. Now, the Cold War has just escalated from just a political one to an economic one. And a lot of nations feel like they should be picking sides. So they're gonna be picking sides really fast. We have most of Europe join the UN. Not most, like more European countries. The Iberians, Denmark, Switzerland, Austria, Czechia, most of Balkans don't have any interest in a global, system. But South Africa, Algeria, Zambia do have interest in it. Australia made it a requirement for their economic pact for everybody in it to join the UN. They were okay with that. And the last country joined UN for now is Panama. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world now since this three-way Cold War has broken out. And it's about to get worse when the fascists decide to rig some elections in neutral countries, mainly starting with Sudan, where they are successfully able to rig Sudan's government into becoming a fascist government. And because these three are kind of surrounded by possible enemies, they decided that it's fit for them to form a military alliance. So Sudan, Egypt, and Iraq will be forming, guess we'll call this the fascist pack. And let me give them the fancy little glowing icon. I don't know why, I just like the military icons have that little glow. So yeah, Libya and Chad, again, well, mainly Libya, they're forcing Chad to do what they're about to do. They don't feel safe with this, so they will be making their own military, alliance. I think for that icon, I'm gonna use the X. So, Libya and Chad will be in a military alliance too. And this will be called the Afghan Communist Pact. Probably gonna forget all these names, not gonna lie. So yeah, tensions in the world are starting to really explode, especially when Libya is able to pull Egypt and successfully rig an election in a country. And it's actually gonna be in one of these newer countries. Mali will fall down to communism. And this kind of scares Africa quite a bit because extreme ideologies seem to be growing really fast in this area of the world, and Mali will be allowed to join Libya's alliance. And for the last event of today's video, it's actually going to be involving California again, because they're not done with their imperialism. Because here's the thing, California doesn't respect neutrality this time, and they're gonna enter into, I think this is Montana, no, Idaho. Montana's up, but they're gonna quickly blitz into Idaho, and Idaho's gonna beg for people to help them, but nobody really wants to fight California. It's really weird. These fascist countries have very strong militaries suddenly, despite some of them being recently formed. And for this peace treaty, it's actually going to be a little bit interesting. California will take all of this land, and the remainder of Idaho will be allowed to exist still, but they're going to be forced to have a fascist country. Now, stuff's starting to heat up around the world. We have the Communist bloc with the Communist Accord, the United Nations. How could this get any worse, though? Like, thankfully, the fascists don't have a global organization. Oh god, the fascists have just formed a global organization, and they're gonna be called something nice and like common, like something that doesn't scare the world. 1 second. Okay. It's gonna be called the Fascist Order. Oh, lovely. Bet the whole world's excited about that. Yep. This Cold War has already escalated from just involving the Communist Accord and the UN to including the Fascist Order, which kind of scares everybody in the entire world. But a lot of countries want peace. They're sick of world wars happening. So nobody's gonna do anything about anything, because they kind of don't really want to instigate another world war yet, or ever again, to be honest. So yeah, that will conclude today's video. I'm just moving these icons down here, make them a little bigger. So yeah, that'll do it for this episode of War Civilizations Start Over, and the first official episode of the Cold War. I'll see you guys next time.